I am here. Today we're going to be talking about building a legacy that is worth striving for. Luis has got some really cool education, really cool background, and we'll have him get into his story in a bit. I want to talk about something because what is building a legacy, again, that is worth striving for? How has that changed? How is that different during the pandemic? How is it different now that the pandemic is over or almost over? How has that changed? How is that different? So talk to us a bit, Luis, about again really building a legacy that's worth striving for. What does that mean? How do we do it? How is that different now?
I think, during the course of the pandemic, a lot of people had rude awakening about what was really important in life. And I think that a lot of this belief system of I have to work a 9 to 5. No, I now want to fulfill my dreams. I want to, become an entrepreneur. And now legacy has become redefined, if you will, because now people are saying I'm now doing what makes me happy, and I'm now fulfilling my passions. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've seen a turnover of events with people that are like reinventing themselves. They're
Right on.
branding themselves. They're becoming very creative with how they are marketing themselves, their businesses. It's incredible.
Right on. Right on. Getting an echo. Maybe try turning your sound down a little bit if you can. Maybe the sound's a little loud. But and I love this. I love this because I think you're right. Continuing to leave a legacy is very powerful. Um, but again, it's how do we do that now? How is it different? How do we pump up employee morale? How do we mitigate risk, but also surge forward and move forward? Because I think a lot of the companies or businesses that lost out during the pandemic, it really put their heads in the sand and said, "Oh, we're going to wait for this to be over. 2 weeks to flatten the curve," and then it was 2 months, then it was 2 years. Um, Talk to us about this because there's been a huge change, which is fascinating. It ties in with your background. But first, tell me more about how. And I agree with you. There's been a huge change and awakening in belief system, values, cultures. COVID has changed everything in business. And so talk to us about that because you and I had a great conversation a couple weeks ago about how the tables have really turned 180 degrees.
Yeah, well, within the safety culture, the policies, the safety procedures that, in the risk community we adhere to, a lot of the businesses, specifically the restaurants, the bakeries, they were subjected to, their business was compromised. And the risk role really became the hero to see, okay, now that we're not making enough collateral, how can we now save money by controlling these risks that we can now be proactive versus reactive.
Okay.
So that took a lot of thought and initiative and strategy to see how we can instill a culture of trust within the employees, to let them know that we had their backs even during a time where we didn't know what this virus was capable of, but
Yeah.
trying to now adopt new rules, new ethics of how to handle a pandemic in the workplace. That was a huge cultural shift. It changed the industry forever. And so now, those have mutated into other risks in things that we've never really faced. Like now we have to worry about cross contamination. What does that look like? Checking everyone to see if their tests positive or negative, or institute vaccination policies. There's been so many things that has really impacted our industry, and there's been some challenges to really face those challenges head on, but at the same time really institute that belief and a culture of safety to our employees. It's really turned the table. So I think now more than ever, legacy is imperative to say, okay, now I'm the owner of this company. I've hurt financially. I need to stay loyal to my employees. How can I really show them that I have their backs? And I think through that risk uh, uh, vessel of support, the employer has become very creative. Say, okay, this is how we're going to pay back retribution for your commitment to working with us. And it's really, I've seen some very innovative ways of just my counterparts in the industry, risk directors, chief risk officers, people on the service side as well, who have really seen the same, and they've adapted within their expertise to accommodate that cultural shift.
And that's, I mean, it's interesting because I think you're right that things have turned on their head. No longer are our employees begging for vacations or willing to put up with, short vacations or not enough vacation or limited vacation or whatever working conditions that aren't flexible. And it's really interesting to see, especially after it was heading that way, but especially after COVID, people want remote work. They want flexibility. They want more vacation. People work hard. They play hard. And I agree with that. I mean, if you're burning people out and people are fried, you're not going to have your best out of your employees and your teams anyway. So I think that's a great idea. But it's interesting how, like you're saying, a lot has changed, and there's a lot more power now in the hands of employees and job seekers. A lot more power because people are no longer willing to work for just a grindhouse that grinds them through, and extracts every bit of effort or whatever out of employees. People want a great place to work. They want a great culture now. They want an area that they can grow personally and professionally as well, a non-toxic work environment, leaders who are open, who are authentic, who are real, congruent with their message, walk the talk versus the, do as I say, not as I do type of leader. So it's really interesting how this is changing the dynamic for people coming on and what people will no longer put up with in terms of a career or a job, but also giving leaders a really great chance for themselves to grow and to do better. And to your point, leave a legacy, whether it's a business leader, whether it's a business owner, to really leave a powerful legacy and make a big difference. I mean, we're in a great time as well for people to make a big change as well.
Agreed. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you speak some things that some items that you just discussed right now. It really resonates with me. You talk about the work from home culture.
Yeah,
That really impacted our world. We now had to become risk managers and say, how can we assess the risk that potentially the staff member is now going to be victim of?
fair.
We're going to do two. How are we going to monitor that? How are we going to mitigate that? How can we really build proactive policies to protect our risk in that level? And then there's also been that culture of I'm not going to work a 9 to 5. If I'm going to work, it's going to be under my terms. And there's just been this I don't even know what to call it, a tsunami of things that happen when you go through a pandemic. You're like, I now want to exchange my success and all that I thought was to blissful happiness and fulfillment and purpose. And so I'm seeing that across the board. So I think now more than ever, we for the perspective of the employer, we've had to now become very forthright with our employees by really treating them with respect when they sustain injuries, and if they fully recover, really trust in them that you have their backs and that they could work from home and you could accommodate all their needs. That really has changed a great deal. And you know what? A lot of the employers now are realizing that if you do it right, you're going to get return on your investment, because in exchange you're giving that person that flexibility, and then of course you're going to get the best end result when it comes to work product.
I agree. It's a great investment to invest. It's the number one investment to invest in people, and giving people the new currency. I think is recognition and flexibility, maybe a bit extra vacation, autonomy, and it costs the company nothing, but the benefit is huge. Versus only paying more and more and higher raises so people will stay and put up with a job or be in a job they don't love or they don't like, but because it pays the bills or you're throwing more money at them, which is extremely expensive to do. Recognition, leadership, growth, personal growth, culture is huge. Respect, like I said, recognition, respect is a huge, great way to reward people. Flexibility, it's interesting. Again, I'm an entrepreneur, and a lot of my people, a lot of my teams are remote, other countries, some across the globe, some different areas, US and Canada. And I think a great leader now needs to realize that we need to give our teams some autonomy, so that we don't look like we're breathing down their neck and we're not micromanaging. However, also, yes, it doesn't mean abdicating and not staying in touch. Maybe it's frequent kickoffs, or frequent roundtables or circles, or just a quick, power call once or twice a week with each employee or teams to check in and stay in touch. So not abdicating responsibility, or because everyone's like, how do I manage these remote teams, James? And it's, well, stay in touch, but also avoid micromanaging. Ask how you can support, ask what they need, what's working, what's not working today, how can you support you, how can I help you grow, where do you need my help? And as a leader, that's a great question to frequently ask and check in with people without micromanaging, without the tendency that the need to micromanage, because you can't see them per se every single day. You can't see them sitting in a desk or office, without micromanaging or worrying them not to do anything. Trust with employees. Yes, trust sometimes can be earned, or give some trust and let them earn more, but avoid having zero trust. You're just going to piss people off and lose people by being a micromanager, or a, like a, I don't know what the word is, but just someone that just
No, no, yeah, no, I
goes
get
on
it.
top of them.
Yeah, no, no, I completely agree. Entrepreneurship also has really taken a few progressive steps. I've never
Mhm.
seen so many people start their own businesses. Have you seen the same?
No, I agree. It's like that growth, the great resignation, whether people are gone and starting their own business, or at least starting a side hustle at work.
Yeah,
You're right. Businesses and it's a wonderful thing, people starting all these cool businesses. But to your point, and I want to hear your thoughts on this too, please. I think leaders need to be cognizant that again, people are not willing to put up with some of the things they put up with before, and they want the autonomy, the flexibility, the passion, and doing what they love. And I think finding ways to create that in corporate culture, and just creating a great culture in general, is a way to stem the tide of people leaving because they're not happy, they're not fulfilled, not satisfied. It's a lot less to do with money as it is, I think, and I'd love your thoughts, to do with recognition, reward, praise, benefits. Again, it could be extra days off, or half days on Fridays, or letting people, if they need to leave on a Wednesday because they need to see their kids or go to their kids' baseball game, that's saying that's cool. You work late on Tuesday, or work extra hours Wednesday, an extra hour to Wednesday or Thursday, and being flexible with folks versus the rigidity that does not work. And again, that's why people want to get the heck out of there and work for someone else. It's not all about paying them more money. It's not all about the almighty buck. People will take more money in order to put up with things like that, but that's not what they're really looking for. It's the fulfillment, it's the love and enjoyment of what they do. And that's why I think we're seeing a great resignation. What's your opinion? What are you seeing with the whole great resignation, and people wanting balance and value, respect they want in life? You said earlier, people have discovered that there's more important things than money. They want life. Tell us more about that as well.
well, I mean, as it relates to just the world that I'm in the risk industry, I mean, they're from a cultural. How do we really evoke this? We got you. We want to retain our employees. We want to show appreciation. There's so many people that I've met personally, that they, CFOs, presidents of their own companies, where they've become very strategic with the handling of their employees, the earning of the trust of their employees, being very respectful, but then doing things with ethics and really adhering to their like principal values that they show their business when they say to their employees that they recruit, this is who we are. They're really standing firm to that. They're really trying to be very transparent and relatable. And then, I've seen a lot of people do very different things. People work from home now most of the time. I haven't really seen a change of people coming back. And if I see or have heard that, there is a level of entitlement that the employee says, well, then I'll go get another job. So, that sometimes doesn't work. And especially when you're trying to retain good talent and you're competing now where, it's a buyer's market for the employee right now.
Sure.
Figuratively speaking, it is, the employee now has a say and has this right now, this conviction to say, I'm not gonna budge, I'm not gonna compromise anymore. So I think with all the employers that I have seen, do all the things that you've just suggested. They try to do events. They try to really celebrate leadership. They try to recognize. They're being very generous with their bonus programs, adding more benefit features to their benefit plan. Um, Again, everything that was provided at one point pre-COVID, when people thought, okay, I could do that, but not. Now people are taking it seriously because there's now a loss of employees quitting all the time. I read this article the other day where they were saying how just unemployment and entrepreneurship has been the shift now, and people are they're going rogue. They're just like, I'm not gonna withstand any more working for someone and making someone else money when I could do it myself. And so I think from an employment perspective, the recruiter, the president, the executive team have become very, very creative with retaining that, because they know now, that's what they're dealing with, and the company.
Yeah. Exactly. If they've shifted, a lot of companies have shifted, a lot haven't, and you're right, if they've shifted. And it's interesting, you being a risk guy too, because a lot of companies before COVID said, well, no remote because it's too risky and this and that, or they want people coming back now because they think there's more risk. And sure, there is a bit more risk having people work from home in a whole myriad of ways, but also the real risk is that without flexibility, autonomy, without honoring flexibility and really what people want and desire, the risk is that they're going to leave, and it's going to cost you a fortune to train new people, find new people, if they're even as good as some of the great people, great talent you have now. So talk to us for a second, then I want to get into your story as well and how you got into this. Just about risk. Again, we need to balance risk in life for sure. No risk, no reward, but obviously you don't want to leave yourself completely exposed. And I think this culture of minimizing risk, whether it's whatever, cybersecurity, cyber tech. I just saw IBM had an ad for zero trust security, basically trusting no one, which I'm not sure how much that's going to leave a positive taste in people's mouths. However, that being said, things are inherently risky. Life is risky. Business, taking action, success can be risky along the way. Maybe what are some things people can do, and leaders, companies can do to minimize risks of people working abroad, working remotely, working from home, or if they're working remotely, then why can't they work from, I don't know, Costa Rica or Spain? I mean, instead of being down the road remote, why can't they be across the world remote? Again, provided they're doing their work. What are some of these risks people are worried about? Because I think the risk also is losing great people, which is prohibitively costly. But what are some, talk to us about risk? Because again, this is something you do, of course. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this new world.
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, we have become the big supporter when we are having roundtable discussions with the executive team, the president, the CFO, everybody knowing where we are at in terms of revenue, right? And so, the risk role really plays an imperative role to see how we can meet all those initiatives so that we can be in alignment with the company. And a lot of it that we do is contingent on how we're going to save premiums, right? How are we going to save our workers' comp by what? How do we save money? How do we stop litigation if we start seeing that there is a lot of litigation? How can we really mitigate through those risks without really at the end of the day subjecting ourselves to filing bankruptcy, right? So the risk world has had to be very innovative with how can we save money with little money to really invest in, because we don't have that collateral anymore, right? So the cultivating of partnerships with our external partners on the managed care side, on the risk side, all lines of insurance, guest liability, workers' compensation, all those have become a risk, a threat to the company now more than ever, especially now that we have the pandemic. And now we have, we could say that there's an employee that said, okay, I have COVID, I came to work and I gave it to somebody else. And the exposure effort of what that, how we react to that, how do we do that? How do we protect the brand in the process? Again, how do we preserve the trust with our employees that we're doing the right thing? Sure. So a lot of what we do has become very instrumental in the success of the company at the end of the day. And we can go on and on about speaking about culture, but I think one of the most important things that has impacted our world is how do we now create a concierge experience for the employee that sustains a legitimate injury, and how do we really entrust that we got you, we're hospitable, we have your back from the beginning to end, and that the claim process, which can become cumbersome, and it was compromised during COVID, it was a backlash of things that didn't happen on time, and it delayed a lot of the things, all these court appearances. Employers couldn't, close out or settle any claims that were, long-winded or, exceeded their shelf life. It really messed up people's X mods. It really messed up a lot of these, projection data analysis that we anticipate. This is how we can really save our risk. If everything was stalled. So we had to get even more creative. And then it really went back to basics to say, okay, if the employee sustains an injury, let's learn from it. How can we build an initiative to be proactive so that we can really focus on the injury prevention piece? And how can we really now build in practical policies that are, really all about behavioral awareness, what your job really entails. Let's see that you can't lift, you can't lift this 50-pounder, you can only lift 25 pounds, and then really have some restrictions and be kind of diligent with the employees to say, listen, we really reward your behavior at work. And we're going to really reward you by, I don't know, doing a Vallarta, gift card to all the employees or whatever the case is, and really kind of rewarding that effort. But then you also have to have a certain piece where, building policies that are, accountable policies to your employees. That's okay. We're going to reward you accordingly, but if you fall short in this area, these are the ramifications that come from it. And let's learn from those, and then deliver a message of, we want your safety. We don't want you to sustain injuries. We don't want you to put yourself through a financial situation that really may impact your life. So again, it's all about goes back to the employee, letting them know that we are there for them. Also, I think what's very important to say is that the employer not only has become very strategic with, okay, how can we really entrust this philosophy of unconditional love to our employees, but now they're taking it even a step further by really hearing the voice of diversity. And people are bringing in more different talents. I've seen so many people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different parts of the world. I mean, I'm like, as a minority Latino, I look at the side, I'm like, wow, So I think for me, I celebrate that, and I'm seeing a lot of that as well. Yeah, have you seen the same?
Yes, yeah, agreed. I think it's right. It's people, and it's a general theme. I think people no longer to be thought like a number or a figure. Or they want to be people. I mean, even though half the leaders I interview these days for my new book, they're saying we need humanity back in the workplace. We need empathy back. We need people treating people like people, and I think that's been forgotten. That's one of the best ways to maximize performance on your team is to delight your employees. Yes, boundaries, like you said, keep things in check, but also have a huge upside for people working there. And that's not a cost. That's an accelerator, I would say, to have people perform better, stick around during hard times, stick around for offers of higher pay from recruiters, or stem the tide of people leaving, doing their own thing. I mean, a lot of times these days that people, they're good at something and they don't like the employer, they're out of there and they start their own thing, and that's a lose for the employer. So it's interesting. You're right. People wanting to celebrate life, who they are. People during COVID, they were off or at home, discovering things that they hadn't done in years, or discovering that, wow, life is worth living. Life is too short, and so it's a good lesson to live and to learn. Excuse me, for all of us, leaders and employees, entrepreneurs, business leaders, business owners, execs, to people to learn. Now, give us like a quick 2 minutes on you, your story, your why, how you got into this, because it's very interesting as well.
15 years ago, I was lucky enough to work for an international restaurant chain called the Cheesecake Factory. It was my institution where I really learned a great deal. I'm forever indebted to those people because it really gave me the opportunity to understand how to handle risk on a national level and how to be an expert in the discipline of restaurants and hospitality. And then through those ventures, COVID came, and those were the moments of time where people had epiphanies about what else do you want to do. So I started, moving on in the next chapter of my career, and decided to be the CEO of my own company called the Masterclass Elite Group, and it's a digital marketing platform ultimately that I've built. That the heartbeat of it is really celebrating legacy and risk innovation. And we're doing it through the aid of digital marketing, and we're doing all these digital exclusives, all these digital masterpieces that we've really generated for almost 2 years. We have created a tremendous following with comprised of people, risk officers, the best of the best, risk managers, every business partnership that you can think of on a national level, from insurance carriers, brokers following me. And I think that I have a niche in that I'm really offering something that is different. It's eclectic. It's very artistic. It's kind of very what are you trying to do here, especially in the space of insurance when you don't really see that. But I think because it's been so different, I've gained the momentum of followers that I've gotten so far.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. I love it. I love it. Amazing. Well, how can people reach you? I popped it up here on the screen, but what's the best way to people reach you, and who do you love to serve?
Well, I'm at this point. I'm doing, trying to do my thing and really fulfilling this masterclass league group platform. So everything is good. My number, my email, everything I've provided to you. They could reach out. They could also check my YouTube page, my Insta, my Facebook. My I have my website as well as the LinkedIn profile, and I encourage everyone to check it out.
Yes, yes. Very true. Very good. Check him out, Luis Soto. Leave us with one last thought on who is your dream customer? Who would be a dream customer or a dream client for you?
A dream client for me would be someone in the industry that has created a legacy in such a way where people speak of that person's heart, what they did, what really they learned from. I think those are the people that I like to really talk to. I think that people that really believe in legacy, that practice it with honor,
Yeah.
with grace, and are true to that. I think I have more respect for that than anything else.
Right. Well, and I agree. There's a lot to be said about authentic leaders, empathetic leaders, leaders who are real, and again, walk the talk as well. Because the best way I feel to get someone to do something is to do it yourself. I can't remember. I don't know, it was GE, but it was one of them, like a huge company years ago. And the owner, rather, the CEO, was like, "Well, we're a world class company. We're trying to be a world class company, but the office is a mess. There's clutter and stuff everywhere, papers on the floor." So every day he would walk around picking up garbage. Just again, the CEO would walk around every day picking up the trash can, picking up clutter and garbage and stuff, tidying his stuff up. And people saw him doing this day after day, and so they got the message, but also the inspiration. Wow, we should keep this place cleaner and have a world class organization in this way as well. So it's a really interesting follow the leader and walk the talk, do as you want people to do versus that's not what everyone's doing.
And then I think to kind of echo what you're saying, and really fulfilling the moral of what I said is, well, ultimately I think what's important right now is this wanting to really serve excellence, trying to really excel. I've seen a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to give more of myself. I'm going to do everything I can. And I think that with what we do in particular with risk, there's been innovation beyond belief. I've had so much respect for just the innovation that I'm seeing. And I think with this platform, that's who I want to celebrate is the innovators out there, the people that have had something that is different, that have pretty much taken a risk and really have revealed their courage by way of the choices that they've made in their businesses. And again, what people are saying about that person. That for me is more important. and people that have done things on a national, international level, because that's kind of where I engage a grander audience in terms of what we want to do with this platform, and the way that we want to do it is really educate all of our risk community, whether it's on a national level or on an international level. That's the goal.
Very cool. Very cool. Amazing, brother. Amazing. Pleasure having you on my show. I'm glad we were able to get some value. You got it. And it's no risk without any reward. Manage risk, but also avoiding it. Avoid advocating it. Avoid resisting and not addressing it all, because it's a part of business, right? And it's flexible, risk and flexible, right? So it's a pleasure, Luis. Thanks for being here.
Same here, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Take care.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.